Good morning. I hope that you are having a great morning today. Just putting a little bit of a thingy on there. Hey, welcome once again to our Wisdom for the Age, our chance to just spend a few moments together looking at the wisdom of Proverbs. Remember, Proverbs are general principles that if we live according to these kinds of principles, our lives will tend to be better. It doesn't mean that, things don't happen that kind of don't look the same exactly, but we know that God is with us and that as we walk with Him, He's going to give us the best life possible. So making sure here you can hear me all right. Just double check. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're in Proverbs chapter 3, and we're going to be reading the first 12 verses together, Proverbs 3, and it begins, "My son, do not forget my teachings." Again, so it's coming from the perspective of a father or mother, parents teaching their son, their children about how to live well. "My son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commands in your heart, for they will prolong your life many years, bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline. Do not resent this rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those He loves as a father the son He delights in." What a wonderful passage of Scripture here. Just looking at 5 different ways in which we can be wise. He begins again by presenting this to his son, parent, and when we see this gendered language, son, father, obviously he's talking to all of us, that all of us should live in this kind of way, not just the male children, right? We're all called to seek the Lord and to be wise. And so, remember your teaching. He says, remember my teaching, keep my commands in your heart. Now, we want to understand heart. We see the heart as the seat of emotion. We think of, well, I feel good about that, and it makes me happy. But in the ancient Near East, the heart was not simply the place where emotion resides, but it represents the whole body. The heart, the mind, the emotion, the will, the choices that I make, my whole being is represented here. So when he says, keep my commands with all your heart, he's not just saying, enjoy keeping the commands of God. He's saying that the commands of God should be something that you are keeping both emotionally. Yeah, emotion's important, but it's important that the way we're thinking, the way we're living, the choices that we make, all of those things are being guided by these teachings. And he says our reward for that, long life, peace, and prosperity. Again, it doesn't mean that I'm guaranteed to live to 100 if I live by the Proverbs. It doesn't mean that I'll never be sick. It doesn't mean that I'll never have conflict in my life. But as I live my life according to the teachings of Scripture, my life is going to be better. I'm going to tend to live longer. I'm going to tend to have a greater sense of peace and well-being in my life. And I'm going to tend to prosper better, not simply financially, but in all areas of my life. He goes on then, the next thing, verses 3 and 4, is continual love and faithfulness. It says, let the love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your heart, right? Write them on the tablets of your heart. So it's actively pursuing to live a life of love. And again, that word hesed is this deeper meaning of this covenantal love, this committed love and faithfulness, to live faithfully to God, to the church, to one another. as we live with that kind of faithfulness, he says, your reward, favor, or good name with both God and men. Again, we pursue God, we love him, we are faithful to him, then it increases our connection to him. And frankly, it's going to make our lives easier dealing with the people in our lives as we exhibit these signs of love and faithfulness. You know, a lot of times we think because we are truth tellers, because the Bible is about truth, sometimes we think the most important thing is truth, and that's not always the case. Yes, we have to tell the truth, but our lives should be just overflowing with this love and this commitment to God and to one another. He goes on, the second or third thing here, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your understanding. We love this verse, right? Acknowledge him in all your ways. Submit to him in all your ways, and he will make your path straight. So his piece of wisdom here is trust in the Lord with your whole being, not on your own understanding. That doesn't mean that we shut our minds off and, we just pray until God tells us everything that we need to do. But again, as we allow wisdom to come from God to us, as we grow in our wisdom, we learn that this is all about trusting God. This is all about our relationship with God as we trust in him and we trust in what he tells us. Because sometimes the things he tells us don't always make sense to us in the moment. But in those moments, if we will trust in the Lord instead of our own understanding and submit to what he's called us to do, he'll keep our path straight. He'll keep us going in the right direction. He'll keep us moving forward, both in our walk with him and in our ability to help others to see him. He goes on from there in verse 7. He says, do not be wise in your own eyes. Just simply humility. Recognizing, again, I'm not going to trust in my own understanding in and of itself. I mean, I'm going to use my brain, but I'm going to allow the Lord to guide me in that. Same thing is true. It's not that I should not pursue wise wisdom. Of course, Proverbs tells us to pursue it, to chase it. And I'm going to try to increase my knowledge and my skill level in the things that I do. But I'm going to recognize that it's not about my will. It's not about how smart I am, how talented I am. These are things that come from God. Ultimately, instead, I'm going to learn to fear the Lord. Again, that relationship thing, that I respect him, that I love him, that I'm pursuing him. And as I fear the Lord, as I turn from evil, and those things are connected. The more I draw into God, the more he reveals in my life that I need to let go of and to put aside. And when I do those things, it says he'll bring health to your body, nourishment to the bones. And it's kind of an interesting connection there that as we pursue God, there's actual health benefits physically. And the best I can wrap my head around this is the whole idea that, stress kills, right? How if we allow ourselves to become overly stressed, we can cause actual physical problems in our body and our health. And so if we pursue him, if we're not thinking that we know it all, but pursuing him, turning away from evil, that again, there's going to be a general sense of health in our body that's going to be greater. We're going to have less stress. We're going to not do the things that are going to cause our body to be destroyed. He goes on then it says to honor the Lord with your wealth. Right? Money is important. Money represents who we are. He says honor the Lord with the first fruits of your crops. In other words, this should be your priority, is to be generous with the Lord and with others. That the least important person to be paying, using my money on is me. Now that's backwards from America, right? We think once we get our paycheck, the first thing is that we got to take care of us. And so the Lord is clear that if we will honor the Lord with our wealth, if we will bring our first fruits to him, the tithe, so then your barns will be filled to overflowing, your vats brim over with new wine. And we see that, and we read abundance into that, and there is abundance there. But remember that this is an agrarian society. So if you don't have a bountiful crop, you don't have seed for next year. It's not like now where you go down to the local seed dealer and buy bags of seed. You harvest your grain, you harvest your product, and you take and put some of that aside and you sell it and you use it, and some of it you set aside for next year. Because if you don't have seed for next year, then you have no crop. So he says, not only I will provide your needs and provide even to abundance or overflowing, because that's just the way God is. He loves us and he gives us an abundance. The last thing he says here in this first verses is, my son, don't despise the Lord's discipline. We don't like to be disciplined. We don't like to be rebuked. But he says, accept what God is telling you. When the Lord speaks to you about things in your life, when things happen and you begin to process them and you realize that perhaps God's trying to get your attention, he says, accept those things. Don't resent it. And instead of giving us a result, he gives us the foundation of it. He says, because the Lord disciplines those he loves. That even when we're going through struggles, even when we are being molded into his image in ways that we don't necessarily like, even when he's building patience in us by creating a swimming pool in our basement, we recognize that he allows things to happen, and he loves us as a father. And if we will simply allow him to work in our lives and allow the discipline to take, so we understand, okay, Lord, I see what you're doing in my life. I see why this is happening. As best I can, we recognize he loves us. Just as a father, just as a mother loves their children and will discipline when necessary, the Lord disciplines us so that he can get us back on that straight path, so that he can continue to move us forward in him. Have a great day today. I just hope that the Lord fills your life today with the goodness and abundance that he has prepared for you. We thank you, and we will see you on Sunday. God bless you.